Opening shot, many of us are experienced at negotiations, whether it's buying a house or deciding on your job salary. And it appears right now the Bears are stepping up to the plate to negotiate dollars and cents with Springfield lawmakers that they need the approval of to get some potential big property tax breaks in Arlington Heights. Now, Governor Pritzker set some initial terms. Hey, Bears, you want some help? Then pay off the more than $500 million in debt still owed on the Soldier Field renovation. The Bears seem to finally have came back with a counteroffer. According to a letter obtained by Crane Chicago Business, their offer is $25 million. That's reportedly money they're offering to give the state to give to projects in the city of Chicago. Governor Pritzker didn't have a whole lot to say about that today.
You know, I just read about it last night. I don't really have any reaction. I'm not sure what it's tied to, what they're asking for in return for it. I mean, I think if they're donating $25 million to support the people of Chicago or the people of Illinois, that's always a good thing.
Now, State Representative Cam Buckner, the Chicago Democrat who's also Deputy Majority Leader, had more pointed comments. Quote, the Bears' offer isn't just inadequate, it's disrespectful. It reflects a longer pattern of tone deafness when it comes to its relationship with the city that made it. We're talking about a franchise valued at nearly $10 billion offering scraps to Chicago. Ouch. Now, Buckner goes on to mention that the Cleveland Browns agreed to give that city $100 million as part of an agreement to move to a new suburban stadium. So to recap, governor's offer, $534 million, the Bears, $25. That's quite a gap. Now, perhaps they're setting the stage to settle at $100 million as well. And one other point, the Bears don't technically owe that money on Soldier Field. The taxpayers do. The Bears just have to pay a nominal fee to break their lease early. That's it. But after all this time, the team still hasn't figured out the playbook in Springfield, namely, how to win favor and influence people. That playbook will likely come with a heftier price tag than $25 million if the Bears are to get the hundreds and hundreds of millions in taxpayer help that they want in Arlington Heights. Tonight, Noem versus Pritzker. The DHS secretary comes to Gary to tout Operation Midway Blitz. Down to the 11th hour in Springfield, will a $1.5 billion transit bill get the green light? And hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans are in jeopardy of losing food stamp benefits this weekend if Washington, D.C. doesn't come to an agreement. Welcome to the Chicago Report. I'm Paris Schutz. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem back in the Chicago area today. She held a press conference in Gary, Indiana to tout what she says is the success of Operation Midway Blitz, including a new initiative to go after truckers. Noem was flanked by ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons and Indiana Republican Governor Mike Braun. She says Operation Midway Blitz has netted 223 undocumented residents with commercial driver's license traveling on Indiana highways.
We don't want any of these individuals out on our roads, and we don't want them in our communities, and we especially don't want them behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler when they can't speak our language, they don't understand our laws, they can't follow our roadway signs, and they can't interact with law enforcement or our citizens.
Noem says Midway Blitz in all has netted more than 3,000 individuals, and she says it's just getting started.
Since the beginning of Midway Blitz, ICE and CBP and our state partners have arrested more than 3,000 illegal aliens, including rapists, murderers, and gang members that have been brought to justice.
But Governor Pritzker held his own competing press event today to blast Noem for the heavy-handed tactics used by ICE and Customs and Border Protection officials, like last weekend's tear gas raid in Old Irving Park near a Halloween parade.
So don't believe it when they tell you that they're busting the worst of the worst gangs or gang members. They're attacking peaceful neighborhoods and terrorizing kids in Halloween parades.
And a database from the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse says that more than 71% of those detained since the beginning of Operation Midway Blitz do not have criminal convictions on their record.
Many times when we're out there on the streets making sure that we're getting these criminals off of our streets and out of our communities, that there are individuals that they are with that we also are making sure that they should be in this country. And if they aren't, then we're making sure that they get their due process and they're removed and returned to their home countries.
Pritzker also pleading with Noem to pause the operation tomorrow so kids can trick or treat safely.
I'm asking for basic human decency. I think their response will be revealing.
And that response from Secretary Noem, no dice, Operation Midway Blitz will go on tomorrow, despite it being Halloween. Now, speaking of the governor, he might be having to decide on a massive $1.5 billion public transit proposal soon. Lawmakers have hours to pass something before this fall veto session ends, and they're scrambling to move the giant legislation past the finish line. And joining us now to talk about this are State Representative Tony McComey, a Republican, and we have Cam Buckner, a Democrat from Chicago. You guys both have me there? All right, great. Good to see both of you. Okay, Representative Buckner, there's a latest version of this bill. You're about to go introduce it on the floor as we tape right now. Where will this $1.5 billion come from?
Well, let's see. We're introduce the amendment in committee once we get done here. And listen, what we're going to present to folks is a plan that doesn't actually raise taxes. It shifts taxes that already exist, shifts money that's already in the state coffers from the motor fuel sales tax to go to transit. We also do some things with the transportation fund to find ways to influence capital around the state. And so this is going to be a balanced approach where we're going downstairs very shortly now to talk through it with the executive committee. And I think that this is something that people in Illinois can get behind. All
right. So as we tape here, you've got a few hours to pass this. It's a massive bill. House Republican leader Tony McComey, as I understand, that we're talking about some gas tax revenue being diverted and possibly maybe higher tolls. What are you hearing?
Yeah, and I would just like to say thank you to Representative Buckner. They have been working hard to try to come up with a solution to these problems that are here. But that being said, and we're never going to find perfection, but our real big concern as the leader of, the 100 parts of 102 counties, the shift from downstate is real problematic for us. There was a deal made several years ago concerning the gas tax and that sales tax on that. 55% of that was to go after FY26, 55% to downstate districts 2 through 9 through IDOT. And that's going to be diverted away. And so a lot of people who supported the increase of the gas tax supported it because there was going to be projects for downstate. That's going to be diverted and go away. And that's one of the things that's hardest about Springfield is that promises are not kept and deals are broken.
So, all right, Representative Buckner, what about that? So if this part of the gas tax is diverted for public transit, for Metro, CTA, PACE, and other downstate systems, then what happens to the other things that it typically was paying for, like road building?
Yeah, well, it's not. I share the same concerns that my friend, the minority leader, voiced, which is why we are continuing to have conversations. The final bill is not drafted. Literally, there were just some calls made a few minutes ago about what those numbers need to look like. We're not trying to take from downstate. We want to create a system that works for the entire state. Obviously, Chicago and the Chicago region, the 5 Collier County region, is a big piece of the puzzle, but this doesn't work without downstate being whole as well. And so we're trying to get there. These are the final hours, and I'm convinced and committed that we'll do that.
Representative McComey, Democrats have a supermajority, so they don't necessarily need Republicans, but are Republicans willing to support some package for $1.5 billion if it involves different revenue?
Well, I'm very thankful to hear that about downstate. We have had Representative Brad Stevens, Mayor of Rosemont, involved in the conversations, and he really has been, I think, trying to give some good ideas, and whether it was through the governance or through the revenues. But certainly, we're not committing to any support until we do see that final bill. And Representative Buckner certainly understands that, because sometimes there might be things in there that he may not be supporting either. A thing about this, though, it's $1.5 billion. And from my understanding, the need was the want was 1.1 billion. So I do have a question of where that other 400 million is going.
And Representative Buckner, I mean, part of this was more efficiency, more cooperation between CTA, PACE, and Metro. Is that going to happen in this bill?
It will happen. There's a lot of consequential and comprehensive reforms in this bill. I've told folks this is one of the biggest state transit bills that we've seen in any legislature in this country. We are right-sizing things, we're streamlining things, we're creating better processes and procedures to make sure that these agencies do what they want to do, what they're supposed to do. We are not trying to create a system where we're putting more money, good money, behind a bad product. We are going to make this work, and that's why the reform was the first part and the most important part of this for us.
So, Representative Buckner, can you just kind of tell us what revenue is definitely going to be part of this package? What's off the table? Like we said, gas tax, the rideshare stuff, is that gone? Tolls, is that gone?
Yeah, so the package that we're presenting just shortly here, and I've got to run as soon as I can to go do it. It does not include rideshare taxes increases. It does not include a delivery tax increase. It does not include a real estate transfer tax increase. Those are big things that we heard from people around the state that they were, adverse to. And then so we listened to people. We found a way to make this work. This is going to be a balanced approach.
I know you got to run really soon, Representative Buckner, because this is happening right as we speak right now as we stream this show. Representative McComey, if you were a betting person, would you bet it's going to have the votes to pass before midnight tonight?
Yeah, I'm sure that the majority party, well, the speaker won't allow it to be called if he doesn't have his 60 votes. So there's that. But there is a tax increase for the RTA area of 0.25% from my understanding. And there is a tollway increase too, but I'm not clear on what that will be. So there is certainly, other than diversions, there is some increases as well.
Representative Buckner, could you expound on some of that?
Yeah, so we give the RTA the ability to raise their portion of the sales tax 0.25% for sure. There is a tollway increase, and look, now the lights have gone off. There's a tollway increase.
They're saving some money down there in Springfield.
Saving some money in Springfield. There's a tollway increase as well that is modest, but also goes right back into the capital program that will help maintain our roads and our bridges throughout the state.
All right, Representative Buckner, I want to ask you one more question, then I'm going to let you go because I know you got to go downstairs, you got to file the bill, you got to debate it over the next few hours. But you texted me something about the Bears today when they offered $25 million here. Remember, Governor Pritzker wanted them to see if they would maybe pony $530 million to pay off the debt on Soldier Field now that they're leaving. $25 million, is that like kind of a weak counteroffer?
It's paltry. When you look at, once again, what has happened in Cleveland recently with $100 million being committed from the Browns and the Haslam family to the city of Cleveland, it's embarrassing to have the Bears make that offer. They should probably put another zero behind that, and we can start a conversation.
Seems like their game plan in Springfield isn't quite as sophisticated as Ben Johnson's typical offensive game plan. All right, I'm going to let you go because I know you got to pass this, and so we're going to watch to see what this does. But Representative McComey, maybe I got a couple more minutes with you here. What are some of the other highlights that happened in this session?
Well, yesterday was probably one of the worst days that we've had during my time here. The so-called energy bill that was passed is going to be an $8 billion cost to taxpayers. They say, well, it's okay because it's going to be over 20 years. And it's going to lower rates, which actually, no, it's not. This is really about battery storage technology that we have not yet perfected, certainly around regulating and safety. So this is something that all around the state, regardless of where we are, there is no generation in here at all. So just to get battery storage is certainly important, but not this way. We need to be talking about a more holistic approach, an all energy approach to actually take care of lowering our rates today, not waiting 5 to 10 years down the road.
And that was supposedly the point from proponents of this bill, that they wanted to tackle these skyrocketing energy costs. So you're saying this won't do that?
Oh, no, and they talked about that in committee, that this was wouldn't even take effect until 5 years from now. And Parrish, you know as well as I do, just overall cost in the next 5 years are going to be up. So if we are up on capacity charges by a certain amount already just through inflation, it's not going to be a decrease that's going to be saving families. So we have families today all around the state that aren't able to stay in their homes. They might not have a mortgage, but their property taxes continue to go up. But now their utilities are so skyrocketed that they can't pay for those either. We need to get a better approach to keep the lights on.
All right, Representative Tony McComey, the House Republican leader. I know it's going to be a late night there, so hope Hope you have your snacks and your energy drinks, and we will follow all the developments until that midnight deadline. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. And after the break, with millions of residents on the verge of losing SNAP benefits, the Greater Chicago Food Depository tells us how to get and give help.